Alok, I've known you for many years, but all the time I've known you, it's been as a member of TIE. How long it's been? What, 20-ish plus years for you?
Yeah, 22 maybe. We are completing 25 years of TIE in India this year. But yeah, I've been here for a larger part of the journey.
And you would have seen various forms of entrepreneurship over the last 22 years. How have you seen that evolve from the time you first started with TIE till today?
Yeah. See, late 90s, entrepreneurship was still, what they used to call a promoter with a scheme. So I think gradually the respect for entrepreneurship as a bona fide, above the board enterprise has increased. And honestly, I must credit this to many entrepreneurs who did this before you or I showed up on the scene. People like Mr. Murthy and so on really established the credibility of entrepreneurs. But substantially, I think on every count, every 5 to 7 years, you see this step up in terms of entrepreneurial activity, what resources are available to them. So when I was building my first company, 100 crore exit would count as a great exit. Today, that's the entry price into a seed deal. And 10 billion is like becoming a mark where there are multiple companies now. So I think just the scale of execution, hence the capital available, that has significantly gotten enhanced. At TIE, we have seen that the number of advisors, mentors, just the ecosystem support that is available to entrepreneurs is, an order of magnitude above what we would see in the early days. In fact, part of the reason I got involved with TIE 22 years back is because even if you were just slightly successful, you were suddenly someone who could give back. Now there's a different threshold on our charter members. And it's great to see that because we're able to bring all of that back to the benefit of entrepreneurs. But yeah, one of the changes that we've seen is also, broadening of the entrepreneurial activity. At some point, we were looking at retail chains and all. It's interesting that the largest companies have come in the tech and tech-enabled area. So as you, in your consulting role, look at the landscape, what are you seeing as your prognosis on the technology front? Where does entrepreneurship play?
Well, you say in my consulting role, actually, it's more of being a technologist. And I was quite lucky. I got into tech consulting back in 97, and now it's almost fashionable to say, yeah, I do a lot of tech. At that point in time, nobody wanted to do things like SAP and so on. So I've been quite lucky that way from a timing standpoint, and extremely enthused. When I was graduating from a tech college, nobody wanted to be a promoter with a scheme, obviously. Now the same tech colleges where we go for recruitment, people, even young 22-year-olds are looking at what is the next big idea that they can be an entrepreneur for and how they can raise funds. Funds of the magnitude that you just spoke about, 100 CR is almost the baseline. I don't mean to make this sound very geopolitical, but I do think technology has become largely tripolar in the world. US has some very good technology skills, especially the West Coast and Silicon Valley. China has come up very strong and has its own challenges that I don't want to get into. And then it's India. We published a report last year where we looked at people with tech skills or very cutting edge skills. Obviously, you can't have a conversation without using GenAI as a phrase. So people with GenAI skills or any other technologies. And you have these three big bubbles in a bubble chart of skills and licensed individuals. And then it was a big sheer drop in terms of numbers. Then the few places with certain skills, Israel had a lot of cybersecurity skills, Estonia had lots of e-governance skills, Germany had a few IoT skills, but there's no other place that had a combination of almost all skills at large scale. And that is enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we are sitting on that kind of a skill base means that when an entrepreneur has an idea, and given, I don't know the percentages, but maybe 80-90% of those ideas are tech, digital, AI kind of led, then to have that kind of skill and scalability has been good. So I am very positive that the next 10 years is going to only show this S-curve going bigger and better for India. I have actually a desire, which brings me to my next question to you. While India has been on this curve and everything takes time, Rome was not built in a day. If I look at the US market cap of the leading companies, the market cap is led by very much born in the cloud kind of companies that have originated in the last 20 to 25 years and almost invariably have a big tech platform as their base. India has done well with similar business models, but if I look at the India market cap, that's still not the case. Is it just timing, or is it something more fundamental than that?
No, I think so. As I said, the scale of Indian companies, Indian tech companies and startups has itself multiplied, 3 orders of magnitude in the last 25 years. So I think to that extent, we are on that journey. But there are, I think, positive reinforcement cycles at work here. You spoke about the talent density a little bit, right? And I do still think that at the top percentile of talent, that market is very, very bipolar, if not less, right? I think India is beginning to gain its share of advantage there, especially as infrastructure has become more pervasively available due to the cloud. I would think that the investment dollars, which arises out of how much money have investors made in the past, has its own positive reinforcement cycle, right? So if the market has seen billion-dollar exits, then they feel comfortable spending $1 billion out, right? That leads to a 5 billion exit, and hence, as we saw some of this in 2021, where investment dollars climbed up a lot. That obviously needs to happen on a more sustained basis. But I do think we are on that cycle. And I think the third big piece is just how big the technology market, domestic technology market per se is. And so India is still a fairly small domestic technology market relative to what you would see in the US. So I think those are the key factors in our mind. So while I think we are on our way there, I also believe that trying to short circuit our way there will not lead to sustainable businesses. In fact, one of the strengths of Indian markets has been consumer markets. So I am always looking for that mix between technology and consumer. Because my sense is that is where we will find our bhangs and mangs. Have you seen elements that can get us to that tipping point faster? What is it that can be done to significantly accelerate what Indian startups are able to scale to?
See, I think you just answered that question, and I completely agree with you. India's got good technology talent. India has started its journey of entrepreneurship. It's been a while, but the last decade has been particularly good. Scale can be, but India is still seen to some extent being a bit of an engine room for technology. Mm-hmm. And as we think about these ideas, not to be efficient for the rest of the world as a SaaS company and so on and so forth, but India for India, leveraging Indian consumer base, leveraging the increased per capita spend of these consumers in India, then I think that those ideas start becoming far more mature and far more sustainable and not subject to geopolitical changes that, in fact, to be fair, are happening more frequently now than ever before. So I think India for India is one big theme. I think the second big theme where we are well on our journey is governance and therefore the trust. We've come a long way from promoters with the scheme and you took Mr. Narayanmurthy's name and several other luminaries like that, who have given entrepreneurship a good name. Obviously, we now have many more of them, and really people like you and many others who are acting as mentors who have been there, done that. So my affiliation with TIE is because I love rubbing shoulders with people like you and your other colleagues who have actually done work like that. So having that kind of governance, which is not somebody trying to make a quick buck. And the third thing, yes, is time. 9 mothers can't make a baby in a month kind of analogy. Sure. So some things do take time. We've come a long way, but we can't just become Silicon Valley overnight. We'll have to earn our way through it.
Yeah.
My last question to you, Alok. Next 22 years or next 25 years at TIE, how do you see TIE contributing to this?
Yeah, as I mentioned, as an ecosystem, we have crossed 3 orders of magnitude in the last 25 years. I think I'll be happy if we cross 2 more in the next 25. But what gets us there is, in my mind, a far more democratic, accessible access to the drivers of entrepreneurship, right? We are seeing amazing pull for entrepreneurship in tier 2, tier 3 cities. I think that goes back to your point of India for India, because India is many markets. We are seeing student entrepreneurs come up who at 20 years of age want to build the next big company. And for TIE, I think the core challenge really is, how do we service that demand? Which means that TIE has to extend its geographical presence. We are now already in about 25 plus chapters in India. How do we increase our accessibility? So far, TIE has been largely a physical meetup organization. Should we be using other channels to make sure that we can expand broadly? How do we work with the policymakers to make sure that India can truly become, the single biggest pole of technology in the world? And I think there is alignment around that purpose. We have already, as a country, started to now export technology, be it in form of, DPI infrastructure and so on. And there is no reason why entrepreneurs are not going to rise up to that occasion. So I think it's going to be an exciting 25 years. And I do think that entrepreneurship is going to be a cornerstone for the Viksit Bharat.
I completely agree. Thanks, Alok. Thank you.
Thank you.